Hello and welcome. In this video, I'm going over Azure Automation Update Management. Hello and welcome to my video on Azure Automation Update Management. In this video, I'm going to show you how to use Azure Update Management to deploy server updates. There are a lot of options for patch management, including Windows Server Update Services, System Center Configuration Manager, other third-party tools like Shavlik. Azure offers Update Management, part of Azure Automation, as another solution for patch management. This works on Windows and Linux-based servers inside Azure or with servers on premises or hosted with other cloud providers. Before I go any further, I just want to remind you that if you enjoy these videos, please subscribe. This lets me know that they're appreciated and I should keep making them. So in this video, I'm going over a solutions overview. I'm going to identify the prerequisites, walk through the interface, onboard a VM in Update Management, create groups for deployments, view client assessment, schedule and deploy updates, and review results. So that's a whole lot of stuff. Hopefully I'll be able to get through this quick. Azure Update Management allows for managing system updates for Windows and Linux computers. As mentioned already, it works with Azure servers and computers outside of the Azure environment. It can work with SCCM as well as Windows Server Update Services. Here's a list of the supported clients. Notice that it will only assess Server 2008 and 2008 R2 RTM. Those are the oldest clients that you can use with this solution. The solution does not support client OS, such as Windows 10, Windows 7. Here's what you need to get started: an Azure subscription, of course, a Log Analytics workspace, and Azure Automation account. I have videos on how to set those up on my channel, so if you need to do that first, stop and go take a look. The workspace and automation account need to be linked. I've got a video on how to do that, but it's a little dated. So let's kick off things first with going over a quick demo on how to link Azure Automation and a Log Analytics workspace.
The first thing I'm going to show is how to link a Log Analytics workspace with an Azure Automation account. So here I'm in the portal. I'm going to go to Log Analytics. We'll just show you that I have one here. It's in Resource Group East WSRG, and it's in the location of East US. I'm pointing this out because here I have an automation account that's in a separate resource group and in a different location. Some documentation indicates that they have to be in either the same resource account and or the same location. It's not 100% accurate, and I'll show you here. To link the two accounts, I need to add the automation and control. Not only will this link the accounts, but it also adds some solutions needed for the update management. So I'm going to find automation and control. It's down in the marketplace. So first I'm going to select a workspace, and I'm going to do the East US workspace. And then it's going to ask me for some other information, an automation account. And I'm going to use this East US automation account that I had set up. Then we'll click OK. Give it a second to validate. Okay, the validation process took a little bit longer than I expected, but it's done. So now I'm going to click Create, and that should link my accounts. If I go to Log Analytics, I'm going to go into my workspace and into Solutions. You can see I have the solutions from Azure Automation added. And under Automation Accounts, it's going to take me to the automation account that I selected. And under Linked Workspaces in the automation account, we can see it's pointing me to the CIR workspace or WS1 workspace that I selected. That is it. That is how you link an Azure Automation account with a Log Analytics workspace.
All right, welcome back. I hope you enjoyed that. One last thing before we move on to more demos. Here's a list of the types of updates for Windows and Linux servers. You can select the options that you want to install when you do the deployment. Keep in mind that assessments are ran against an update source. If you have a server set to pull from, let's say, Windows Server Update Services, the update would need to be approved before it can show up as available in the assessment. If you are using System Center or Update Services, the update has to be approved before it will be applied. With that, let's move on to more demos.
All right, buckle up. It's time for more demos. So let's go in and take a look at our update management interface. So I'm going to go in here to Cake, and just a little explanation. If you've ever watched a cooking show, they put the batter in the oven, go to commercial break, come back and take the cake out. So I've got batter, which is not complete yet, and cake. You'll see me go back and forth between those two, but just so you can understand why that is. But for this, I'm going to go into Cake, and I'm going to go into Update Management, where, as you might expect, that's where Update Management is managed. After you've linked your Log Analytics workspace to your automation account, all those servers you may already have in Log Analytics are going to show up here in Update Management. But let's say you wanted to add another virtual machine. You can do that simply by going to Add Azure VMs. And here you can see I have one that has not been added yet. So if I add this through the Update Management solution, it will deploy the Log Analytics agent on that virtual machine. Now, if I go back, if I was to add this through Log Analytics, then it's going to show up in here. So you can do it either way, and they'll show up. So this is just another way of adding a virtual machine into the Log Analytics workspace and Update Management. So there it goes. It's deploying. We'll give it a few minutes to finish. And as you can see, we go back into Update Management, and I've got some Azure VMs and I've got some non-Azure VMs. So if I add these machines just like any other way I would through Log Analytics, they'll show up in here as well. So I've got other videos that show how to deploy the Log Analytics agent to non-Azure VMs. You can go back and look at that. But again, they don't have to be part of Azure to be managed through Update Management. They just need the Log Analytics agent installed. Okay, so here you can see I've got some missing updates. And this is a list of all the updates that are missing and how many machines that are missing on. And if I go to Update Deployments, you can see I don't have any. And I can schedule updates, so we'll come back to that later. But what I want to go and show you is, if we look at this Cake 01 and we go into View, we can see the Update Agent Readiness. We can go in and see status or different information on that. One thing I want to point out is hybrid workers. So in order to get a clear idea of what I'm talking about, let's go back to our automation account, and we're going to go down to hybrid worker group. In Azure Automation, one of the things you can do is create runbooks, and these runbooks are PowerShell, Python scripts, or whatever that will go out and run in Azure, and then you can use it to manage different things in Azure. But what if you had a workbook that maybe set up an AD user? Well, you can't do that from the Azure context. You have to run that actually on your network and in your domain. So what the hybrid worker does is it allows you to push those runbooks to a server inside your domain, so that hybrid worker. And then that server can interact with resources within your network or on the domain. So that's what a hybrid worker group does. And you can see I have two types here. I have a user hybrid worker group. This is what I would do if I wanted to push a runbook out to a virtual machine to run in my environment. But there's also a system hybrid worker group. And you can see all my servers in Update Management are listed here. And what happens is, in the background, a system hybrid worker group is set up on those virtual machines. And when you deploy an update, it's actually using that same hybrid technology to create a runbook and install that update with the runbook in the background. Now, you cannot interact with a system hybrid worker groups. These are created and managed by the solution, so the solution being Update Management. So just understand there's a difference between the user hybrid and system hybrid. All of your servers in the Update Management solution will have a system hybrid worker running on it. Okay, back to Update Management. You can see that virtual machine has been added. So let's talk about assessments real quick, because what happens in the background is Azure Automation and Log Analytics is going to view or query and assess the status of those machines. Scans are performed twice a day for Windows computers and every 3 hours for Linux servers. It can take 30 minutes to up to 6 hours for the dashboard to display updated information. So I guess the key here is a little patience. None of this stuff is instantaneous. You do have to wait a little while for things to report back and forth. With that, let's schedule an update. So here I go into schedule update deployments. Let's just call this update demo. And I'm going to go to a couple things here. Oh, groups. So I can create a group. I can create a dynamic group, and I think this is preview right now, but I could say maybe I want to select my subscription and then select a couple resource groups. And I can preview that and see what it's going to add. So there it's got the 4 machines from those 2 resource groups. So that's one way you can dynamically create these lists, and it's always best, I think, to patch by group, because if you select specific VMs, it's possible some might get added down the road and forgot to be added to the list of computers to be updated. But my preference is to use AD groups. So in order to demo that, I'm going to go back to Log Analytics, go into my linked workspace, and under Advanced Settings, Computer Groups, and we can see I have selected the option to import Active Directory group membership. So this is in Log Analytics workspace, and I select that there, and it's going to pull all of the group membership from the computers that are in this workspace. So then I can go back and use that as the source for deploying the updates. And the advantage here is there might be a process in place when you create a server in your environment to add them to specific groups in AD. You can get them into that update group and just know that going forward, they're going to get updated with the rest. So let's go back to Azure Automation and Update Management and schedule an update again. So we'll call this one Update Demo, since that's what I was going to do the last time, but I got on a tangent. Okay, so we already talked about groups, but here I'm going to select Machines to Update, and we have Save Searches. So you could, if you notice back in Log Analytics, I could create groups from AD as well as Windows Server Update Service and System Center Configuration Manager. So I'm going to select that option. And here are my groups that I can select from. And these are all reflected in AD. Actually, I can go in and we can take a look at those. So here, let's say I have Batter Update. And if I look at membership there, I have the 2 Batter servers in. So let's go and select that as the source. And next is going to be Update Classification. So I don't want to do feature packs, don't want to do service packs. I'll do definition, no tools. I'll leave updates there. You can include or exclude updates if you wanted to. Maybe here you could do specific KB articles to include if you want them, or if there was one that you didn't want to add that was in the list above here, you could make sure that they don't get installed. Schedule settings. So I'm going to schedule this to run at, let's do 10:15. And you can select your time zone. I'm going to allow this to do once. So here you could do reoccurring if you wanted to have the same patch group run once a month. You could do that as well. But I'm going to go once. And there's another option to run scripts before and after updates. I don't have any of those. I can set a maintenance window now. You can see I scroll down here. Maintenance window is going to be 120 minutes. You can adjust that accordingly. And I'm going to say always reboot, because I always want to make sure these servers reboot once a month. So I click create, and there it goes. Okay, so that is it for now. I'm going to pause here, and once I'm done, I'll come back and we'll take a look at the results. Here we are at the Update Management Console, and currently the deployment we set up is running, so I just want to show a couple things before they complete. If I go into my virtual machines, and we look at either one of these that it's deploying to in the overview section, we can see that right at 10:15 when I scheduled it, we started to get a lot of CPU activity, and it keeps growing. So that indicates that this is patching, and that gap there is probably a reboot. We can go to the other one and see the same thing. So you can see there's a lot of activity. So that just shows me it's running. But I don't need to look at that to know that it's running. I can go into Azure Automation. And as I said before, everything that it's doing is just a job, a runbook job. So if I look under jobs in Azure Automation, you can see I have an Azure job, and then I've got jobs that are running on Batter and Batter 1 and 2. So this is the parent job that's going to kick off these two child jobs. If I look at any one of these, you can see some interesting information that just shows this is a runbook just like anything else with inputs, outputs, and log that you can look at and review if needed be. But here's just showing that this is running. So we know that the update is underway, and we'll wait for it to finish. The update job is finished, and now we can review how things went. So the first thing I'll show you is under the Overview tab in our automation account. You can see I have 3 jobs that have run, and they're 100% complete. I can go to Jobs and view status of all the jobs that ran. And here, if we click on one of these, we can go in and dig deep into either the inputs, or we can also see all the log files. So this is a great place to go if you're trying to troubleshoot an issue. Now I'm going to go back to my automation account and into Update Management. Once in Update Management, we can see our computers here, are all of our servers that are in. And again, they're all showing compliant, which we expect. But if we go to Missing Updates, you can see the cumulative update. We went from 7 to 5. And if we click on that, this will take us to Log Analytics query, and it'll pull back all the machines that are missing that update. And you can see in here, the 2 Batter machines are not listed, so they got the update. We can also go back and look at update deployments. You can see the update deployment that we ran is showing successful. And I just noticed I must have fat fingered that. It should have said demo, but it says DemP. But oh well, I can't go back now. And if we click on that, we get some statistics on that job. So this is all very helpful for going back and looking at results. And now we can go into schedule update deployments. We can see the job that ran. I'm back for the last demo. It's been a couple days, but I've waited because now it is Patch Tuesday. And if we go down into Update Management, and I'll get this out of the way so we can see more, you can see I have a bunch of machines that are non-compliant. So that's good for demo purposes, not good for security purposes. But here you can see we have some security missing updates. We can also have other missing updates. And you can see it's non-compliant. So if we go into missing updates, you can see I've got a couple of the November 2018 cumulative updates and update for the server. And then we've got some roll-up updates, some definition updates, and just updates. So let's take care of all these updates. Actually, these last 2 are from a couple months ago, so we'll get those taken care of as well. I'm going to go over to update deployments and take a look at something right here. The last time I did an update deployment, it took 65 out of 120 minutes. So I might want to set that window just a little bit longer to make sure everything gets covered. With that, I'm going to schedule the update deployment. So if I click here, I'm going to name this November updates. I'm going to target Windows. Now I could go in here and select maybe a subscription, but I don't want to do that because some of these virtual machines I have running are not in Azure. So I'm going to come down here, and I actually want to target all of them. So I'm going to go to Machine. And this is going to pull all the machines I have in my environment. So if I click on these, it adds them all to the list below. So we've got 7 of them. And then I click OK. And now I'm going to select the criteria. And I want critical updates, security updates, roll-ups, and updates. I don't have any inclusions or exclusions. For the schedule, I'm going to run this as soon as I can. It looks like you can only schedule about 30 minutes out at the earliest. So I'll click OK. I have no pre-post scripts. I'm going to set this for, let's do 180. And I am going to always reboot. Here you can see I have 7 machines and it's provisioning now. I'm going to let this run and I'll come back once it's finished. I'm back. The deployment went through, and as you can see here, the job statistics are showing 8 complete. So we've got 8 different jobs that were complete. That would include the 7 servers that I deployed the patch to, as well as the parent job that kicks them off. Now, if I go into change tracking, this is something that's kind of interesting. I'm going to change this to just go back in the last hour, and under the type, let's just go to software. And here you can see it's showing that there has been activity. Software has been installed. So this is a neat little feature that is part of Azure Automation. It's outside of update management, but still something worth looking into. So now I'm going to go into update management. And good news, bad news. Good news is the deployment did go through. The bad news is I've got a problem with one of my servers here. Let's take a look and see what kind of information we can find out. So under missing updates, we can see that one is missing the security update. We know that one already. And if we look at update deployments, here's the deployment. We can see that it took 67 minutes to deploy out to those servers. Now if I go into the deployment, I can see that the cumulative update for one of the servers failed. Although the update jobs actually succeeded, the installation of one of the updates failed. So with that, I need to go back to the server and identify what the problem is and try to rectify it. That is how you can schedule updates through Azure Automation Update Management, as well as track the progress and identify any issues should they come up, like what you see here.
Okay, so that does it. Thanks for watching. And please, if you enjoy these videos, subscribe and I'll keep making them. Thank you.